Okay, thank you very much. Can you all hear me okay? Yeah, excellent. So, thank you for the invite to be here today. It's fantastic to be down here in Plymouth. I live up in Kendal on the edge of the Lake District, so it's a bit of a mission to get down here yesterday. I've got to get the last train home today, which is at like 3:10 this afternoon, so that shows you how far it is. So I work for the Department for Work and Pensions, part of the UK government. You're probably really sick of hearing about the government this week. I feel a little bit as though I should apologise. I won't, but I do have to be quite careful about what I talk about today. I'm not quite out of the woods with this yet, you may have noticed. So I'm going to talk really about my experience of working outside government, what we've been doing for the last few years. And I wanted to start here. So I've got a mouse mat. Does anybody remember mouse mats? That I've had since I was a student many years ago, which says design is a good idea. I've still got it. And really I spent most of my life, my career, since graduating as a graphic designer years ago, really trying to make this argument. For the last few years, so 4 years in government, really I've been trying to apply this thinking into government as part of working on Gov.uk. So I joined the Government Digital Service back in 2013. Hopefully you all know Gov.uk by now. It's been around since 2010 as the original alpha. It's the best place to find government services and information that's simpler, clearer and faster. When I was at GDX, we worked on digital transformation, so that was the very early days of how do we start to transform the services that government delivers. We were working on what we call 25 exemplar services, so they were really services delivered into government departments to show those departments what good looked like. So that gave me the opportunity to go and work with the Department for Work and Pensions on the Carers Allowance service, which I talked about a lot in the past. And then I had the offer to go and join them permanently, which at the time was something I had to think about quite carefully, because GDS has got very much a startup culture originally. It's a very digital organisation. DWP wasn't that at all, as you can probably imagine. I'm sure you've heard of DWP for lots of different reasons. The welfare or the pensions bit of most large government organisations around the world tends to be the bit that makes the headlines and gets talked about a lot. It tends to be the bit where there's a lot of debate. DWP is actually the UK's largest public sector organisation. It's got 84,000 staff, so a lot of those people working in frontline job centres, actually helping end users and delivering those services. Within there, we've come quite a long way in 4 years, so we're now part of what we call DWP Digital. So we had a big organisational restructure last year. Digital really means the delivery part of the organisation is where we bring together all of our digital data and technology roles. It's where we deliver those services now for welfare and pensions as part of Gov.uk. Like I said, I've come quite a long way for this. I think Plymouth's just sneaking on the map there. But we work all over, so I spend my time, I do travel around a lot. We've got quite a big design team now. I think we've worked with around 70 designers just in the last 3 years in our teams. We work up in Newcastle. We've got a hub where we deliver a lot of pensions work with HMRC. We're over in Blackpool where we've just started setting up. We've got a big base up in Leeds, in the northeast, Manchester in the northwest. We've started to do work in Sheffield, and we've obviously got a base in London where we do a lot of delivery out of Whitehall, where a lot of kind of policy happens, where kind of the machinery of government happens. So this is my day-to-day, which is really trying to run and build a design community. So like I say, I am a designer. This is our design team actually just the other day in Leeds. I updated my photo for this because we get together every kind of 6 weeks. And a lot of what I do is really trying to bring people together, to work together, to collaborate, to create the right culture for design in the organisation. Like I say, DWP wasn't an organisation where you might think about actually approaching things in a user-centric way. If you think about kind of your thoughts when you think about like, what does DWP do, we're trying to change that. So we're doing that. We've brought in a lot of specialists. So we have a design team. It's worth me saying that we hire specialists. So we haven't really hired what I might call UX designers or web designers or generalists. We hire specialists, so we focus on things like service design. We have user researchers, we have interaction designers, content designers, and in our team as well we have what we call front-end developers, or a lot of the time they're just doing development work alongside the designers. And we hire specialists because we want to do something well. And at the scale of the things we're working on, it's been very important to have that deliberate focus. So we hire researchers because we think research is important. We make it part of everything we do. We tend to work in 2-week sprints on delivery. So we want to make sure we have the time and focus to run regular user research. We hire service designers because we want to do the best possible job of designing services. So we want to make sure we have that focus. I was asked today, so I think the idea today is that I would come and talk about user experience. So obviously this is a software and technology track of the conference today. This is really where I want to focus my talk. And I think both of these things are important. But I think there's a great opportunity for us and for you to focus on this idea of service design. And that's what I'm going to talk about more widely today. This is what we mean by service design. This is actually the description we use to explain what the job role is at DWP and across government now. It's all about how we understand user needs as part of the full end-to-end service that an end user experiences. And that means not just the digital bit or the website bit or the bit that you see on gov.uk. It's everything that contributes to that service. So it's designing across multiple channels, not excluding out things like administrative processes, everything that happens behind the scenes. All of the things those 84,000 staff, the frontline staff are working on, all the things that make that end service and experience happen. And this is the point really that when we're designing a service or we're delivering a product into the world, we need to be interested in designers and developers in everything that happens because there's an opportunity to improve it, to make it work better for humans that we've heard about already today. And I really just wanted to talk about services, and it was a great opportunity for me to think about like what do we mean by services, just as I was thinking about this talk. And I think services have become this really familiar part of our lives, and we almost don't realise they're there sometimes. But also the challenge is that the services we use every day are also much less digital than we come to expect. I really do believe that our expectations have been changed because we live in a digital or an internet era, and because of the possibilities of technology. I was trying to think of the kind of earliest example of a service that I can think of that I used. I can remember as a little boy years ago, like learning how to kind of buy a stamp, put it on an envelope, and being able to send a letter. So this is my example. This is kind of the earliest example of a messaging service. So I know lots of people who have worked on or are building messaging type services, and we all understand how this works as a service, in that you can send a message in the post. And if you think about Royal Mail, actually not much has changed despite the internet or despite digital technology. It still kind of works the same. They've built things like tracking on top of that. I wouldn't call this a kind of digital service. It doesn't make the most of the kind of the opportunities and technology that we've been hearing about this morning. And then if we think about kind of the public services that we use, so I think we've already almost forgotten about the NHS hack a few weeks ago because of everything that's been happening in our country, things like terrorist attacks. But just the other week, the NHS actually, all of their technology, or a big part of their technology actually went down because it was hacked, and doctors and nurses had to go back to using paper and pen kind of to actually access records or to keep records. And we've got many services that we're familiar on that are built on, where we built IT infrastructure on top of kind of analog services, or services that were designed a long time before what we might call the internet era. So when I was thinking about this, I wanted to kind of take a typical day and just try to be deliberate about what services do I use now, kind of how does it affect my life. So when I was doing this, it was the 26th of April, and this is a pretty typical day for me. So I want to talk you through it and what happened. So I travel a lot, so like I showed you, I travel all over. So this particular day I was going to Leeds. This is Oxenholme train station, just on the edge of the Lake District. This was my first change. So I had to go to Manchester, then I had to travel to Leeds, I had to get a train. So travel is a service that we all use fairly regularly. You would all have travelled somehow to get here today. Really interestingly, recently, the thing that's kind of annoying me most about travel is they've changed the train ticket system. I don't know, do you have these new big train tickets down here? Yeah, or where you live? So on some of the trains, so I buy my ticket on the train a lot of the time. They've started printing these big tickets with a barcode on, because apparently that is going to be the future. And I quite often have to buy 2 tickets on the way, so I split my ticket for different reasons, because quite often I'm stopping in one place and going to another place. So I end up with this combination of like the small ticket that we're all familiar with, it's credit card size, it fits in my wallet, and these big tickets that I have to kind of fold up. I remember this particular day as well, that these barcode scanners have got a bit of a habit, and I found this actually, somebody was struggling with one at Plymouth station yesterday. They don't tend to work with the old ticket barriers. So when I got to Leeds, I had to ask, there was a chap or a man on the barrier, and he actually had to let me through in the end because the ticket just wouldn't work. So that was my modern ticket. I had to buy the ticket on the train. I used my contactless payment, so my card payment I was able to pay by contactless. The guy had a device that was enabled over Wi-Fi, so that was good. On the way to work, I finished reading a book, which I bought using one-click ordering on Amazon. couple of weeks before. This is a really good book, by the way. I wasn't meaning to do book recommendations, but if I had to do one, this is probably quite relevant to where we are today. And I could have got that instantly delivered to a Kindle. I still like paper books, but I tend to get them delivered from Amazon. I also have a habit of going into bookshops, taking photos of things and ordering it from Amazon, which is interesting. I'm sure people do that, people nodding at me. I listen to music that has been synced to my phone. Interestingly, I pre-ordered this particular album about a week before, and it had come out a couple of nights before, but it synced automatically using the Wi-Fi in my house, and I realised it was on my phone. So I was able to listen to that. So that's my journey to work. I won't take you through my day at work. It was a busy day. We had lots going on. We got to the end of the day. I was staying in Leeds that night, so I quite often stay and then travel on to somewhere else. It happened to be Leeds Digital Festival that week, so I knew I'd had to book a hotel further out. I always book my hotels, by the way, through a work travel system. It's not brilliant, but we book online, so we kind of have a limited choice of civil servants that we have to book through. So I ended up with a hotel that I knew was a bit out of the city centre. So you can see what I did is I went on Google Maps on my laptop and I just quickly checked like how far is this hotel to walk to. I had a suitcase. I had 2 laptops with me. I'm a civil servant, so I normally have a MacBook that's for doing kind of proper work, and a DWP laptop that's for trying to get official systems that still have government works in a lot of times. I had all this kit with me, got 2 phones, and I'm thinking I don't want to walk 30 minutes. But what's great about this is I didn't have to tell them where I was, it just used a geolocation on my MacBook. And then, so I ordered a taxi, and I haven't used Uber that much to be honest, I have used it a few times now. I was able, just with an app on my phone, which had already had my bank details, to order a taxi or order a lift. It was there in 3 or 4 minutes, it took me to my destination, it automatically paid. I didn't have to worry about having cash. So if I get a taxi back at home, we don't have Uber, I have to get them to stop at a cash machine on the way home so I can pay them, because there's not a cash machine at the station. So this was a seamless experience. So I got to this hotel. It turns out, so this was a Premier Inn. Most Premier Inns have a restaurant, and quite often I'll just eat in the restaurant, it's easy. It turns out this Premier Inn is one of like the 3 or 4 in the country that don't have a restaurant, and we were on an industrial estate. So I had no way of finding an evening meal. I've never used Deliveroo before, but I heard a talk by Johnny Birch, who heads up their design team, a few weeks before our cross-government design meeting. I thought I'd try it. And again, I was able to just register through an app, download the app, and get something to eat delivered to the hotel in 30 minutes. I've used it a few times since. Again, it works really seamlessly. We can talk about the fact that it's cycle courier to me and how digital that is. But the fact is, actually, I had a choice of room service from the entire city. And that is definitely a change in my expectations from maybe eating in hotels 5 or 10 years ago. Lots of communication in the day. So this is quite interesting. So my wife, I've got 3 children, 3 young children. My wife will quite often send me pictures of what they're doing so I can keep in touch with them. My daughter had bought some Heelys with some birthday money. If you haven't got children, Heelys are like shoes with wheels in. I'm not going to explain it more than that, but that's what they are. They're very cool if you're 7. So she got these, they're glittery, so she wanted to send a picture to me. It came by MMS. Now, MMS, I actually looked up, it stands for Multimedia Messaging System. Do you remember when things were called multimedia? But we still call it MMS. So I got a picture message. I should say as well, in the evening I rang home. Quite often I'd use Skype or Facebook, so we're able to see each other because we're in different parts of the country. I can talk to my kids as if we're in the same room, which is fantastic. So I spoke to them, my wife then put them to bed. So I've eaten. The only other thing really was how am I going to kill the rest of the evening? I don't want to work. So entertainment. And it just so happened that my football team were on Sky Sports that night. And I was in a hotel room, and actually, see, obviously I can't get that on the hotel TV channels. I thought it'd be great if I could watch it over the internet. Now that is a challenge with Premier Inn Wi-Fi. So I upgraded to their premium Wi-Fi, which cost me something like £5. I think premium is kind of going from kind of, you know, I can download some emails slowly to kind of it might just work. But then I was able to use a Now TV app, which I downloaded, and I've got like a Now TV account at home. And I pre-ordered a package on that actually earlier in the week so I could watch some football games that week. I was able to stream my TV package into my hotel room. So really just watching my choice of entertainment anywhere there was an internet access point. So that's what I did. And kind of the last thing that happened in the day, which is unusual, but actually it did happen on this day, is I got a text message from my bank saying that I was overdrawn. So I thought, it's really odd. So I want to check if that's correct, because when I get a text message from my bank, I immediately think, is this spam or is this actually somebody trying to fish or is it like a security thing that I should be aware of? But I went straight on my laptop, football game had finished, I was able to log in, and actually I was overdrawn because I'd forgotten to transfer some money a few days before. So I was able to manage some money. Actually, I could also see the delivery payment and the unit payments had gone through, so I was interested to see and manage that as well. And they were all services I used in the day. So if you think about service, it helped me travel, it helped me book accommodation, it helped me manage that. In terms of food, sustenance, entertainment, communication, managing money. These are all things that we do in our lives every day. And the point is really that the way I think about service design is we can be very deliberate about thinking about the design of all these things. So the detail of those tickets from the train and actually how that new ticket is, for me, it's very badly thought through as in how that works as a service. Like Christian's thing this morning about having to print off his ticket to get through a ticket barrier. It's ridiculous because nobody has thought about how that works as a service in terms of somebody using it. And what we're in is a digital era. And we have to be prepared to look at the detail of every interaction to see how well does something work for the person that's using it. And that the expectations that we have for the services we use every day have changed. We now live in an internet era that gives us an opportunity to solve these problems and to design things in different ways. So I just wanted to take a little bit of a step back and talk to you a little bit about how do we think about services in government. So we think about services. What does it do for an end user? Louise Down, who's head of design at GDS now, wrote a great blog where she said, good services are verbs, bad services are nouns. Because to an end user, a service is so simple because it's the thing that allows them or enables them to do something. And we quite often talk about, really, we need to move from solutions to outcomes. A solution is the app, so it's the Now TV app that allows me to watch the football stream. But an outcome is what happens as the result of the service. So in my earlier examples, really the outcome, the problem I'm trying to solve in my life on the 26th of April, is that I needed to eat an evening meal. So the outcome was getting the meal and having that, that point where I could eat. It wasn't the outcome wasn't the solution of having to download an app. And what's the assurance, the outcome, this is a really good one really, that the assurance of knowing that my bank account hasn't been hacked or actually somebody hasn't taken money from my bank account. The user need I had was the assurance, that actually everything was okay. I needed that reassurance. And the problem we have is that most services, especially in large organisations that I've worked with, to think back to the Royal Mail example, they predate the internet, they predate this type of digital thinking. And what we found in government is actually we have to make a shift. So early on at GDS, if I'm very honest, those 25 exemplars, a lot of what we were doing was actually digitising the world as it was. So we were making digital things, we were making digital forms based on paper forms that were existing. And actually making things digital isn't really about that. There's a really good quote, and this is paraphrased, Tom Loosemore, who's kind of ex-GDS director, who's one of the founders there, explained it like this, that making things digital is really about employing the culture, mindset, processes, skills and technologies of the internet era. It's about that mindset. And also this week, so there was a fantastic post as well. Janet Hughes, another ex-GDS director, who's blogged for Dot Everyone. If you don't know Dot Everyone, look them up. Got a really good blog. That digital is something you are, it's not something that you do. It's that mindset again. And this really reminded me, so I've got one slide that I use in DWP, so now we call ourselves DWP Digital. I'm forever saying to people that digital isn't something we can now do because we're a digital group or a digital part of the organisation. It's really more like this. So this is my little diagram, you can just about see that's a little bit fake, sorry. But digital is really about bringing together different things with this mindset and these processes. So for us in government, it brings together the policy of government, the intent of government. Brings together the delivery mechanisms of that, the opportunities of technology and what we can do, how we scale things securely, how we make things work for everybody. But most importantly, it brings together that people focus of what problem do we actually need to solve for our end users. What are the problems people have in their lives when they come to interact with government? The digital is kind of the intersection of that, but it's a mindset and it's something we need to apply to all of those things. We talk quite a lot in government, and in the past we've talked a lot about being kind of people that are of the internet. So the type of people we've been trying to hire into our design teams are what I call people that are of the internet, or they understand digital. Digital and the internet era is just part of their lives. They get it. And at the moment, like we've had examples already today where it's clear in politics and in government, sometimes we don't understand how technology can actually enable our lives or how the internet even works sometimes. But these are things, and I was trying to think the other day, how do I break this down? So we talk about the opportunities and the mindset of the internet. These are things that I think of the internet. So things of the internet are accessible, they're usable by default. You make that focus. And I love the Microsoft inclusion work that's happened, it's fantastic. Things are responsive and adaptable, which means we can highly tailor things, highly tailor experiences to people. We can use machine learning for that as well. Things are open, which is also about transparency, but it means that they're available anywhere at any time to everybody. Things are transparent, like I said, and part of the thing about how the internet works is how do we democratize things like data? How do we allow people to use data to shape the future of what society looks like? How do we build services? So one of the big challenges in government is how do we create services that people trust so that they use them, that they trust and are able to be able to verify or prove who they are so they can access services. They trust us. So like DWP, just as an example, a lot of the time we're asking people to share their information with us, tell us about their medical information, just as an example, but they need to be able to trust us to consent to that information being used, and actually they can access the services that they need to. Now, things on the internet are faster, so making sure that we move towards things, I think we're moving towards things that are instantaneous, setting out long-term goals about how do we really create things that challenge us to do that. And automated, so that is the opportunity to make things efficient. And again, it's that idea that we've heard about today, that we reserve the work, we reserve kind of humans or the things that we do, the work that we do, for being only the work that we can do. Let's automate the things that machines can do to allow us to spend the time on other things. And for us, we talk a lot about automation in government. That means focusing the time, the money and the resources that we have left over, having automated the things that we can, on the people that most need that support, so that'll be the most vulnerable people that come into contact with government. And all of this really is summed up in that strapline from gov.uk, because it is about services and information that are simpler, clearer and faster, and I think this is a great example of what good looks like. Simpler, clearer and faster is about bringing together all of those things that are on the internet. And I wanted to just really quickly, because I'm going to run out of time, give you a couple of examples. Westpac, they're an Australian bank. This is one of their mission statements, which is for their credit card service. They want to work towards making it possible to get people a credit card in 5 minutes rather than 5 days. And that is very much a kind of a mission statement or a goal that is on the internet, in terms of they know that they will need to challenge how they automate processes, how they verify people, how they detect fraud in different ways of being able to enable that. And I think you can flip this the other way around as well. So when I was looking at this, I'm really fascinated about how digital and the expectations that we have of the internet are starting to shape our physical experiences. So Apple stores is actually quite an old example now. They've really set a new expectation for how retail experiences work. So you think about the idea of just not having a traditional checkout area you go to. And the idea of focused, personal and tailored support service, the idea of a genius bar, these are responsible and adaptable things that we align to individual needs, and that's very much a thing of the internet again. This one I've been really interested in. So I don't know if any of you have seen that Amazon have started opening physical stores, physical bookstores, not wood timber stores yet. But they're using data to design the stores. So they're using online sales and review data to shape their physical stores. You can see here where they've started to align stuff to, so this is all things like 4.8 stars and above on Amazon.com. And they're shaping a physical experience based on the expectations people have when they've shopped with Amazon online. I think that's really interesting. It's going to be interesting to see the direction of travel with that. Again, when we think about services, we're thinking about everything, online and offline, all together. What is that end-to-end experience? So just for the last 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes, I wanted to give you some practical things. So if design is a good idea, if user-centric design is a good idea, service design is a good idea, how do you start to make that a reality in your work, or people you work with, the organisations you work with? So I've got 3 or 4 things. The first one is just start by understanding user needs. I've talked about this already. If you haven't seen these already, I think most people have by now over the last few years. These are a really good set of design principles. Start with user needs is number 1 for a reason, because you start with the people problem. And the problem we find is even in government, we lose that focus on user needs, and that's when really we stop adding the value that we could add. In business, it's easy to start aligning our decision making to things other than user needs. We get drawn into aligning things to the processes we have, the governance we have, our shareholders, all of these things. In government, we lose track of that as well. This is my challenge. So if you're going to take away one question today, it's like, how close are you to the real user experience, the experience people have of the products and services that you develop? The example I always like to give, and I've already shown some Google Maps today, this is Sydney. So I got to go to Australia in March, April. I've never been to Sydney before. If I took the view from 30,000 feet of Sydney before I went, it doesn't really give me any sense of what it's going to be like to experience that or to be there. Probably my favourite feature on the internet, it's been with us for a long time now, is the street view. So Google Maps, I would assume you've all used this by now. It's fantastic. You can zoom right in and navigate around the city. And I love the Google Street Cards and how they kind of capture people going about their daily lives. And some of the mistakes they kind of capture as well. Like there's a thing where they were blurring out animal faces accidentally a while ago, which is great using an algorithm. But this is the street view. But this really does give me an idea of what it's like to get up close and personal with this environment, with the experience of being there. It's only when you get down to the street level that you can start to see how people interact with the space and what they do. And the point is that I spend a lot of time in government really saying that we need to start with the people problem. Most of the things we're trying to solve in government aren't technology or software problems. Technology and software helps us solve those problems. But we need to understand what the people problem is. It's about what people are trying to do in their lives. DWP services, so I talked about those quite superfluous things before. So like getting entertainment, you could argue that's not a real problem, it's a first world problem. But in government, we're trying to fix problems like how do you help people find the right type of work to support their families? How do you help people manage a health condition? How do you support people caring for somebody else? How do you help people plan for and then retire as part of work as well? These are all part of people's lives. They're all real problems that people are living through. You know, thousands and thousands of people every day going through these situations. And the key to this, if I can share one thing, I can talk about user research for hours, I won't today, but it is user research, making it part of your process. So what's it really like to be living through those life stages or those things happening in your life? And what are those people thinking, feeling and doing in response to those situations? Not our assumptions about what they're doing, but what they actually do if we go out and see what's happening in their lives. So that's the first thing. The second one really is just get the basics right. Again, we've already seen this today, is that just make sure things are accessible and usable. You know, it's okay to have that narrow focus on things like UI or on gov.uk, where we build a lot of forms still. But the point is, software is a small part of a much bigger picture, but it doesn't make it any less important. And that's why I wanted to say right at the start, really I want to focus you on service design, but it doesn't take away from the fact that how we deliver and the detail of these things, how things are accessible to people, that really matters as well. This was a fantastic example. So Ben Goldacre, he's a doctor and author. You might have read Bad Science or Bad Pharma, both really good books. He shared this. This is the drop-down from the UK's e-prescribing system that everybody has to use every time they prescribe something. And he said at the time, it's just an accident waiting to happen. So this is that's it up close. So can you imagine having to use that as a health professional? And this isn't a service design problem, this is an interaction design problem that we should just be fixing. It wouldn't be hard to go and do some usability testing on this and improve it, but yet we enforce this on thousands and thousands of health professionals every day to get the basics right. And like I say, like working on carers allowance, I think we did something like 120, 140 kind of user research sessions on just the basic kind of interface design of a 12-page form, which is essentially helping you apply for that thing. It's that important to get it right. If you don't make sure it's usable and accessible for everybody, actually we're blocking people from using that service, and that's essential. Just really quickly as well, I wanted to say, work on solving real problems. We could argue about whether like TV interfaces for Now TV are real problems. But I wanted to show you a bad example. So this is another one that I shared on Twitter the other week. This is a playground app for the playground for children. If there was ever a thing that I thought there was no user need for, it's probably this. My challenge is, when we get designers coming into government, really it's because we want them to come and work on stuff that matters with us. We've got so many real problems in the world to work on that designers and developers can help us solve. Really, please don't waste your time doing this type of work. I know we've all got bills to pay, but there's other things we need to work on. I would just say that starting with user needs, starting with the real problems in people's lives, the real problems we face in society, let's be honest, there's plenty of them, and the last 24 hours has shown us that. Really understanding what people do, what's happening in their lives, getting close to what they're living through is our greatest opportunity to start building the future products and services that will start to change in how we live and what our society looks like. And finally, I just really wanted to show you kind of the way that we do that. So the challenge is always to adjust the focus. One of the things that I really stress to our design teams, the design team, and you could even extend this to kind of any kind of product development, it's not just a creative process of doing something or delivering something. I always say the job of a design team is being creative is also to introduce clarity to a design process. Melanie Cannon's our head of content design, and she developed these content design principles, but she always explains that if we can't communicate with each other, if we can't communicate a problem, how do we expect our services to be clear and actually communicate and deliver a good service to our end users? We have to focus internally in our organisations with our clients and communicating clearly, and that starts with actually what is the problem that we're trying to solve. So this is one of our posters. I can share these up, the artwork with you if you like. We've got a repository. These are the kind of what I call the framing the problem questions. So I realised after a while, about 2 or 3 years in government, I was just asking the same 5 questions again and again, going and seeing teams, because it was so easy for a team not to have that clarity of vision or that focus on a real problem they were trying to solve. And you have to be deliberate about making adjustments to that all the time. So these are the 5 questions, and they're not perfect, but they work. And the important thing is we do question everything. So we always start with why. Why are we doing this work? Why are we working on this thing? That's the kind of why are we working on a playground app or the playground, because we can stop right there if we start to focus and pick that apart. Everything starts for a reason. In government, it might be because we need to save money. Let's be honest about why we're here in the room and try and unpick that. Are we solving a real problem for people? Who are those people? So number 2, who do we think that need to use this service or this product or this? Who's in this problem space that we're talking about? Who do we think the users are? Can we go and find them and talk to them? What outcome or what problem are we going to solve for those people? So, what problem are we going to solve for them? And then what outcome are we looking for from that? So, what problem is it going to solve for our organisation? And I'll talk about that in a minute, but it's a balance between understanding the problem that we're solving for our end users, and if we do that, what opportunities does that start to create in terms of how we run and how we scale that product? And then finally, the really important one that just doesn't get talked about enough, and government is brilliant at kind of counting things, but not necessarily about measuring progress towards delivering things. And again, we talked earlier about we collect a lot of data, but we're not quite sure what to do with it. You have to know, it's this kind of startup mentality. I've worked in startups. What are our key metrics? So what do we need to measure against these outcomes? So how do we measure if we've met those user needs, how much we've progressed towards meeting them? And the bit I was just going to say is, the important bit really is that we hold on to the problem with both hands. This is my daughter on our big wheel just a couple of weeks ago. I was holding on to her as well because we were quite high up. But quite often with the problem, we need to get hold of the problem people have, and we need to work towards solving it. At the same time, we need to understand that we need to get hold of our reasons for working on that problem. In government, that's bringing together all of those constraints of costs and scale and policy. But I've found that it's not a choice between user needs and what sometimes get called business needs. The biggest argument for not focusing on user needs in government is always that we need to make that choice between user needs or government needs. And I wrote a whole blog post about this if you're interested. But I found that the best way to solve your business problems is to build something that actually works well for people that need to use it. We used to say at GDS that we need to build services so good that people choose them over the alternatives. That's the best way to meet your user needs. That's the best way to grow your business. Or actually, if it's about making money, that's the best way to make money from a product. It's actually to develop something that people are willing to pay for. It's so good and it works so well for so many people. So that's holding on with both hands. Just to conclude then, really this is what I talked about today. I'm going to be around for a while until that late train home at 3 o'clock. But just to recap, we need to recognise the changing expectations because we live in an internet era. We are all of the internet. I think I'm comfortable in saying that in this room. We need to recognise what that means. We need to apply it to our work. We need to challenge those services and those products that have existed from before that era, and we need to reinvent them. Service design is an opportunity. So if you have a narrow focus, if you feel like you do, take the opportunity to think about what happens before and after your service. That's your opportunity really. Problem space is really the opportunity to go in different directions and do new things, to use technology in new ways. Start by getting closer to the problem to understand it. That's what we mean by starting with user needs. But don't forget the basics. Make sure things are accessible and usable. Let's get the basics right. There's no excuse for bad forms on the internet anymore. We have great design systems, design patterns we can borrow from all over the place that we can apply to things that actually will make things much more usable than the examples that I showed you earlier. Adjust the focus, work on stuff that matters. Don't build a playground app. Work out what your organisation can do that will actually deliver value for your customers or your end users, or even better for society. The thing I always say a lot is just keep going with this. This is kind of our mantra in government, that these things don't happen straight away. They actually take the discipline to keep thinking deliberately about them again and again and again. You have to come in every day and say, can I adjust the focus on the problem I'm working on? Can I think more about how we apply that mindset, skills and processes of digital to what we're doing? Is there a bigger opportunity you can work on? Is there an opportunity to go in a different direction? So you have to keep going with that. It always takes time to change things. I would encourage you, if you've not worked in the public sector or done public sector work, I think every designer and developer should do it at some point in their career. And work on things that really matter. Real problems, because all of these things that I've talked about are real problems that both you and me will experience in our lives. We'll all be at the point where we need to use government services, use public services. We all use them now. And actually, it makes things better for all of us if we're working towards deliberately making them better. So that's me. Thank you very much.